welcome to On the Upbeat. I'm Matt.
Hey there, I'm RJ Phoenix, and welcome to your new favorite ska podcast. Unless you've been here before, then welcome back to your favorite ska podcast.
And if you're here and you keep coming back and you don't like us, thanks for not liking us, but keep coming back.
Yeah, we appreciate the streams and the downloads.
Yes,
it looks good for all our advertisers, which we do not have.
Yeah, didn't we have an advertiser once that like wallet chains?
Yeah, of course, the wallet chains, Rudy Brew, the energy drink. Yeah, of course, legitimate products,
actual things. We do have a wonderful show planned for you, but unfortunately, that won't be happening because we decided to throw that out and do something different.
Matt, why are you selling this short? Now people are going to be like, I'm not going to listen. He said it's not great. Matt, it's called Fake It Till You Make It. Why do you think I tell everyone it's their favorite ska podcast this year? Fake it till you make it.
Low expectations, high execution. That's the way we go.
Oh, do we really accomplish that second part?
No, not at all, ever. All right, RJ, why don't you tell us about our guest this week?
Why don't you tell us about the guest?
Okay, I will. We have Jamie and Alan from Not From Concentrate. And welcome to our show.
Thank you for having us.
Glad to be here.
How you all doing this evening?
We're pretty good. You know, it's almost 9 o'clock over here on the East Coast, on a Monday night. So doing as best as we can be doing on a Monday night.
Woo, Mondays, woo! Yeah.
Woo! Garfield said it right.
That cat.
This is a very cat-centric episode. Even in the pre-show, we were talking about kitty cats. So just
that sounds like your sponsor, Fancy Feast. Hey, Fancy Feast, you out there?
I'm sorry. I'm more of a dog person. True. I mean, you can have competing, sponsors. Well, I guess they're not competing because they're completely different animals.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. All right.
It all comes from Purina.
Yeah, probably.
Probably. All right. Jamie, Alan, how was your weekend? Anything exciting happened over the weekend? Play any shows? Do anything?
Shoot.
What was this weekend?
Yeah, what was
It must have been a great.
No, actually, we didn't play this weekend. But we have been finishing up a single that we're going to be dropping on Valentine's Day. So it's the first one that we've actually been doing totally DIY. We built a studio in our house. It's been kind of fun, but kind of scary. And we're like, do we know how to do this?
Mostly scary.
We're like, we think it sounded all right.
No,
we're excited.
It was a cool way that we ended up doing it because I freelance I hustle music lessons one-on-one with kids after school and stuff. And an old college friend, Paul Bushman, he has now 3 kids, God bless him. And I teach 2 of them, and I bartered drum tracks for free lessons for a couple of months.
Nice.
Yeah,
cool way to get drum tracks.
He used to drum with King Django. So
okay.
He's got some experience. So we're like, Paul, hey, Scott Trap. And it's been fun, though. It's been really cool doing this other side of it. And we're excited to, finally put something out that's totally homegrown. So we've been putting a lot of work into that. That's been a lot of time, So our next show is not until February. We're playing, I don't know if you know anything about New York City ska, but there's this guy, Ryan, that's been putting together all these shows. It's called
DJ Ryan Midnight?
Yeah, Ryan Midnight.
Yeah.
So we're playing one of his shows in February in Manhattan.
Very cool.
That's awesome. RJ, how was your weekend? Anything exciting happen?
I did chores around the house. That was fun. I pulled weeds for about 2 hours. That was an absolute joy. Other than that, no, I had a pretty relaxing weekend, to be honest. Not too much going on. Just took care of the kitties, took care of the wife.
Did you really just say that you had a good time pulling weeds?
You just sit down there.
He's
Yeah, you listen to put a podcast on your headphones and just chill out.
And you have poison ivy and poison oak, and
as I said, I live in the middle of Los Angeles. I haven't seen those since my Midwest days. But yeah, no, it was exactly like Jamie said, pretty zen, just pretty much sitting there pulling weeds.
All right. To each their own.
It was basically pulling anything because they're not supposed to be anything growing in my
pulling anything
front yard, according to the HOA. So it's just really it's about a 12-foot by like 3-foot patch of rocks. And when it rains, like it's been in LA, little things spread up, and it's time to get rid of them.
Well, everything's dead here.
Yeah,
so we just been like, look at our grass, it's dead. Dead. Look at how everything's dead.
Look at all that dead brown grass and all those lifeless trees.
Crap in a couple months.
Awesome.
How about you, Matt? What'd you do this weekend, buddy?
Not a whole lot. A whole lot of sort of just lounging around. Megan's still recovering from her surgery at the beginning of January, so
of course.
We weren't too active. Today, though, I sat outside in the rain for like an hour and a half today.
Gotta protect them kitties.
So I don't think we've ever actually talked about it. I don't think we talked about it. Back at the beginning of December, I started sort of like working as a crossing guard. So I just, it's only like an hour and a half a day. And I don't always do it every day. But today it was raining. So, and guess what? Crossing guards go out in the rain. And I almost want to find out what that limit is, though. Like, at what point do I just go, screw this? I'm not sitting out here. I'm going to die. I haven't met that
friend's mom's is a crossing guard. She's been doing it for like 20 years. I can find out for you what the limit is. Stephanie, does your mom stand out in torrential monsoon rain? She probably wears an umbrella hat and stuff,
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely had.
We'll get you some tips.
The other day it was windy and it was hard to hold the sign. Like the stop sign just kept, seriously, when I stood up.
You're a grown ass man. It was not hard to hold that sign.
Shoots down and hits a car.
When you
they would stop in.
When you weren't expecting it and first time you stood up, it almost slipped out of my hand because I just didn't think about it. And then every other time it was fine because I expected it. But so I sat in the rain today, so that was good. But it wasn't that bad. Like it actually was mostly sprinkling. No, nothing really exciting. Unless I'm forgetting something, but oh well, probably wasn't that important anyways.
The real question, do you get the vest?
I do, which sucks because my last name is Vest. So that
Vest Fest.
Yeah, that's not so cool. Yeah, that's not so cool. No one wants that. Not from Concentrate. We're gonna talk to you, and the first question that we always ask our guest is, how did you get into ska music? What is your ska music origin story? Alan, why don't you start? Why don't you tell us how you got into ska music?
So I, as Jamie holds up our blind cat, Bud. Hey, Bud.
Aw, hey, Bud.
Because we actually keep rotating drummers so much, we named him after the drummer of Sublime. So I got into ska. So when I was a teenager, I was like into internet forums and like a lot of old school hip hop, and was on like Jazzy Jeff Fresh Prince board, and was like chit chatting with some folks, and one of them, we were talking about like other styles of music, and one of them was like, "Oh, do you know ska?" And then she sent me like Just a Girl or like a couple of No Doubt tracks. And I was like, "Oh, this is cool," and then kind of then discovered CD Baby soon after, and then discovered Suburban Legends, and immediately found like the Virgin City parties at the Knitting Factory, and that was pretty much like. And then I brought along Jamie with me when when I started college, and figured I was like, I want to start a band.
So
he's old. So, 1 year.
I want to say that so far, Alan, you have the most unique and random how I got into ska story. And it's now most people, they kind of get into it because of like, oh, their friend. Some have even said, I started playing in a ska band. That's how I got into ska. But you got into it because of DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince. And I think that is hilarious and awesome. So, yeah.
But that's ska, right?
I love Will Smith. I love DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince. So I think it's great.
I mean, we are 23 years into the new millennium.
It's true, we are. People don't mention that enough. It is. All right. Jamie, why don't you tell us how you got into ska? Alan kind of gave a little bit away of your story, but how did you get into ska? Maybe some early records you were into?
I didn't like ska at all. In high school, I was like, WTF is this? Like, I was really into like Zeppelin, Doors, and like, stuff like that. Green Day was like my threshold. That was like I guess poppy and like as I'd get. And when I got to college, I was like, I met we were both on our college radio station. He had an all ska show, naturally.
Nice.
Definitely playing songs he wasn't supposed to play,
Yeah,
but I met him and a couple other friends and that had started a band, like you were just saying. And I was like, I just really want to be in a band. So I joined and they're like, this is a ska band. I'm like, oh, God. And they're like, just play on the upbeat. Shameless plug. And I was like, all right, fine. I just really need to be in a band. We'll see where this goes. But I was like, but I'm going to bring my own influence in if you want me to stick around. And like, so it became this kind of hodgepodge grunge / ska, where it's kind of where we're at now. We call it scrunch.
Awesome.
So, I mean, but then he started, Alan and our original singer, Margaret, and they brought me to shows. That's really how it got me into it. Seeing it and feeling the vibe, seeing the love, just the scene itself, that you didn't see in other scenes. It's really a different scene. It was really cool. And the bands would talk to you and it just felt like one big family. And I was like, I like this. This is cool. You really, really just got to know people, like we became friends with King Django. We played in his band, it's not like, oh, wow, look at their celebrity status. They'll never speak to me kind of stuff. It was like, no, we're all in this together in a way. Fans, bands, doesn't matter. Most of the people who are fans are in bands. So it was
Yeah.
So, that's really what got me hooked into it was live shows.
Yeah, I think that's I mean, I've seen it in some other scenes, but those usually are a very small local level. As far as a big like national and international scene, like ska really is one of those things that like everybody just was like cool with being pals with each other, and like there's no real divide between stage and not on stage. And I think it's great, and it really is. I think what keeps me part of it, and I think it's what draws people in, is that community that we have. And I think it's a really special thing. And I'm glad, Jamie, you saw that firsthand. And that's kind of tugged you into the scene further. Like, you're not just in a ska band. Now that you've seen a ska show, you are a part of us.
It's not a cult or anything, No, for the longest time, my friends were like making fun of me. They're like, "What are you doing? Like, you're like a rocker. What are you playing, man? What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm having fun.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I'm doing."
So, what year did Not for Concentrate get their start?
2008.
What were those early days like?
Me yelling.
We had like 9 members, like every ska band.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a lot of like me stalking people in like our college jazz band.
Yeah, because we were all music
better than the other
majors.
guy. You want to join my band?
We were lucky to that because we're all music majors. So the whole jazz band was pretty much in the band at some point.
Yeah.
The whole music department was pretty much in the band at some point.
Yeah, and I thankfully was able to like sweet talk the secretary who would give me like the master key.
Okay, don't give this away. What if they're listening?
I'm not naming names.
We would be in there till like 1 a.m. and they trusted us because like I was an honors student in our college, and they were like, "Oh, this child will do nothing wrong. They have a 4.0 GPA." Yeah, sure.
We forever love you, Dr. Kahan.
Thank you. Thank you. The CSI music department. Keeping Not From Concert Street going. But yeah, we used to sit in our college like music rooms and in the practice rooms and stuff like that. Where we could, my bedroom in my mom's house, we'd have the whole band in there, like no joke, and she'd be downstairs like, "This is so cute," and it'd be like, blah, 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 blah.
So a little chaotic sounds like those early days.
Yeah.
No, we had the great schism, like the Catholic Church back in the day, you know.
Well, no, I think the band breaks up every time we release something in some capacity.
Like, we lose members, we gain members, and now we're a trio, and we're like, good, no more. And we're probably the only ska band out there, and actually jokers, which is cool. That it's like a trio. We're like, we can't stand any people anymore.
So was it sort of like, was it to like simplify things, or was it to like, look, horn sections just complicate stuff? Like, is it just, was it, so what, now was it a conscious choice of just being over too many members, or is it sort of a reluctant?
I mean, it dwindled. Like a lot of folks, like one of our saxophone players, Jim Fletcher, he actually ended up joining the army, so he ended up he dropped out of college and like, you know, did that for a minute. Our trombone player Miles James, I forgot what he ended up doing.
Disappeared.
He disappeared.
Oh.
He's alive. I know that. No,
we see him once in a while.
He's roommates with our first singer, Margaret, which is kind of small world. But
it's kind of like, it was a weird time because, you know, we were in college when the band was really starting, and then we graduate and people go off and do their thing. And it was hard to, you know, a lot of people leave. We're from Staten Island, New York.
Right.
I don't know how much you know about New York City, but Staten Island's the forgotten borough.
Unfortunate home of Pete Davidson.
Yeah. You know, my mom said I looked like Pete Davidson yesterday. I was like, Mom! Like, she's like, why'd you dye your hair? You look like that guy. I was like, anyway. But it just got hard, you know. We got a little older. People started getting married, having families, and it just became like really hard to keep schedules, you know, to play gigs. And, you know, like our latest drummer just all of a sudden was like, "Oh, I'm getting married. I can't play this December gig we've been planning for 6 months. I'm going to like the South Pacific on my randomly within like 2 weeks." And his wife is pregnant now. We're like, what? So now we're like, okay, now we're calling like old drummers like, "Hey, want to drum with us?" Like, it's like freaking Spinal Tap, man. So we can, like, drummers are enough. Horn players, like,
yeah.
I'll play it on my guitar. Like,
we did that for a while when we had like some tracks out in the world that had horn lines, and then horn players would drop or couldn't make gigs.
It's hard. One horn player got, we had this whole show where none of the horn players showed up. Because, I mean, this was in college. We were so excited to be playing the show. We rehearsed the night before. We kind of partied, and then one of the horn players passed out in the quad and ended up in the hospital.
Oh shit!
One of the horn players. We told him, we're like, "Kyle, don't go." And he's like, "I'm leaving." And another horn,
like, "Dude, go to the water fountain." Water fountain.
No,
I gotta go home. Water fountain.
Another, it's always a Kyle. It's always a Kyle.
And another horn player ended up in Jersey and like sat on his horn. I don't even know. And like, so we get to the show the next day, no horn players. We're like, okay, great.
So where did the name Not From Concentrate come from? Like, how did that name come about?
Our first drummer,
40 drummers ago,
who's still drumming,
Joey G. Shout it out. He lives down south now. Country drummer. It's what he always wanted to do.
Yeah, true. He had the name from high school, and he had like drawn up like little like logos and stuff like that. And me and him were talking because we were both like freshman majors, and he's like, I was like, you want to start a band? I'm like, sure, and he's like, yeah, I've had this name, Not From Concentrate, and I'm like, cool, let's run with it.
We tried to change it because we thought it was corny. It didn't work. People just kept saying, Not From Concentrate. We're like, all right, let's change it back.
It is a memorable name, to be fair.
Yeah.
We have like little oranges with hats and stuff sometimes, on old logos and whatnot. Now we're trying to be like a little bit more serious. Like, we're not going to bring oranges to gigs and throw it at people. We did that.
Oh, yeah, we used to do that.
We got in trouble for that.
Campus. We actually, that was fun. We used to do like renegade shows on campus, and like we would take like the amps, because like I created a club, so we would have like a budget, and also the music department desperately needed like amps and stuff. So
basically, we created a club to fund our band.
Oh, I mean, I started a band so I could get into local shows for free as long as I was opening. Like, totally, yes, I understand this 100%.
We wheel the equipment down right by the campus center, plug into the nearest like academic building, and just blast like our stuff. And we got one of our 27 drummers that way.
Oh yeah, Jomar.
That's awesome. A song from you all. This song is called Clark Kent. And what can you tell us about this song?
Yeah, Clark Kent. So I'm actually transgender. And in 2020, I had top surgery, and I was laid up for a while. And I was watching a lot of Smallville. I don't know why. I'm watching a lot of Smallville. And, just all I could do was write or read or whatever. So I was writing some tunes, and it ended up like, having some Superman themes and like whatever. But I was like, it felt like self-made man. Like, I'm a self-made man, just, put it all together. So it's about my transition largely, and just being proud and being, happy and whatnot. And everything's Superman. So Clark Kent sounded better.
Yeah. I love, I'm a big Superman fan. So yes. Who did the artwork for the song? For those who are just listening, the artwork features a sort of a traditional looking Superman pose, pulling open the dress shirt to reveal the S, with and the person standing in orange background. But who drew that, and how did it come together?
So I actually found this guy on Instagram it's kind of like street style art, so I found him and I was like, this is really cool. And I was like, can you do me looking like Clark Kent, but the S is with the trans colors?
Sure, yeah.
He's like, yeah. So a dude we never met came through, and it's just like, hell yeah. It was great.
It's awesome. Yeah, and I definitely hear some grunge mixed with ska in there. What are some of y'all's influences?
You can go first.
Me first. Biggest for me, like really grunge is what hit home for me, like at the end of the day. Like Eddie Vedder, like I try to really like model my voice on him, especially as my voice has changed, which has been like an interesting journey. If you listen to some old NFC, it's different. So yeah, definitely. And like I said, like, Green Day and like that kind of era of like, not like early pop punk, like not pop punk, not like Found Glory or anything, but like stuff like that. And then like old school classic rock, like that's really my jam. That's where I get most of my guitar styles from, things like that.
Awesome.
For me, definitely like grew up listening to like a lot of rap music. And mainly because my father is a professional classical musician. So I was like, let me like, so I had that like opera and a lot of classical stuff.
He plays upright bass, by the way.
Yeah,
that's also good.
So like, and then in high school, started to get into like rock, like punk when like American Idiot dropped, and like Alien Ant Farm also when like Smooth Criminal dropped a couple years prior, And then few friends of mine, they were like audiophiles and like got me into like Weather Report, and Mahavishnu Orchestra, stuff like that. And then I discovered ska pretty soon after. So
yeah, we have a weird mix.
yeah,
Weird. He loves Michael Jackson too. Like,
oh yeah,
hard body.
Yeah.
I'm just like, wow, we have a very interesting collection.
Yeah, like a couple of weeks ago, I like just played like all deep cuts. Well, you know, for Michael Jackson deep cuts. And Jamie's like, "What are you playing?" I'm like, "I don't want to hear any hit. I don't want to hear any hit." Girl is fine. I don't want to hear Billie Jean anymore. You know.
But I can't play my deep cut grunge.
Yeah, I'm gonna put on my 1,000 Mona Lisas, and you're gonna like it.
You're gonna love it, okay? Put on my Mud Honey vinyl.
Nice.
What's something you all would like to see more of in the ska scene?
I just want to see it continue to evolve. Like, I really love that something happened, something magical happened over 2020, and like bands really started coming back out of the woodwork. And like, that's, you know, how we started connecting with like Jer and like that crew and stuff was like through Twitter and whatnot. So that's great. But it's like, we'd really love, well, I shouldn't speak for you. I would really love to see the scene continue to progress because it's, you know, times change. Like, I'm a high school teacher. I see what these kids listen to. I test it out on them. Like, sorry, you're guinea pigs. So I'll put on the different, you know, skas, and sometimes they'll be like, "What is this polka music?" And sometimes they'll be like, "Oh, this is cool." And I'm like, take mental notes. So it's like, you know, I think it's really cool. Like in Eichler's, like it's not totally my stuff, but I really hear where he's coming from, and he's really trying to push like what's popular and mix it with ska elements. And I think, you know, we're trying to do that too. And there are a lot of bands out there that are really trying to do that, you know, and really like bring like in like guitars more than ever and like, you know, kind of mix it all up. So I'd like just to see more of that. Like, I don't want to just like, traditional is amazing. I love tradition. Like, I've really grown to love a lot of the trad stuff, but it's like, give it a kick in the pants, you know. It's 2023. It's like, let's go forward.
Yeah,
I definitely just I just want to see. I hope it like can stay like that, because like, you know, obviously like on social media and stuff, people are like, oh, there's like a fourth wave or third wave or something. It's like, just like be a wave, you know. Because
it acts like, but that acts like it's died. Like when they say waves, it's almost like it's gone away. Ska's never gone away. Like
100% agree. Yeah.
Like, there's a wave of pop music? No. It's like pop music. Stop saying there's waves of ska. It just has.
Okay.
Like there's only one time when ska died, and that was like the early 70s. Like it died in Jamaica, but then like by the mid 70s, it started picking up in England. And since then, there's been ska somewhere in the world.
Well, so you have to. Okay, so this is weird. I didn't want to get into this debate. So you have to think about how people think when they talk about waves. They're talking about times in which it was popular in the mainstream. Now,
but I will amend that. Popular in the mainstream in America, ska's worldwide. Therefore, waves terminology is a lot of fallacies there.
But that's but American culture is where we have the conversation. So it's sort of like our own family talking about our own family. Like that's just sort of, but also music does have waves. So does pop music, because in the early 90s, grunge was housing, like pop music was dead. Grunge and like hip hop, early 90s, all of it.
No, and then grunge came to fucking knock over rock and roll. And what rock had become glam rock, so like in a lot of ways.
Pop music does have phases, like it does.
Oh, it's a 11-year cycle.
Better. It's more of like, I feel like ska's the only one where it's like so like boxed. That's really like, of course, music evolves. All music evolves.
Yeah,
but it's just like this idea of like we have to box ska
And it's also completely irrelevant now because here's the thing. Pop culture has changed. It doesn't function the same way anymore. It's movies, back in the 80s and even 90s would stay in the theaters for a year. Now you're lucky if you get 4 months. So it's just a completely different.
Even if you get it in the theater. Sometimes it's just like on these HBO Maxes.
Yeah, sure. So it's a completely different.
How people consume it's a lot faster.
Yeah, so pop culture in general is completely different. So that's why the conversation overall is irrelevant because pop culture doesn't exist the same way it did. So
you can't notice like a lot of bands like won't even release full albums. They'll release singles and just release singles like every few months to keep.
And that's like taking us back to the 50s, really, in a lot of ways.
Yeah, like just like the 70s. And it's interesting because like the attention span of like kids nowadays, it is different. Like they won't sit and listen to a record.
No, they won't. They listen to playlists at best. More like a soundtrack than what we can
whatever. Don't put that on the kids. I grew up making mix CDs and mixtapes. Come on. That's the playlist of the old men, and I'm an old guy.
I'm with you.
But we
Thank you, Alan.
should not also listen to full records like if you like to group, you know what I mean? So it's just like
I don't know anything about buying a bunch of records and CDs.
As he has a bunch of CDs.
Interesting to see people releasing just like singular songs as opposed to like the longer stuff.
Yeah.
My shoebox full of singles disagrees with you.
But Alan, to your point, I get what you're saying. Like, because I made this point somewhere else in the chat about a very similar version of this conversation, where why can't ska hit that same place that like hip hop does, where it just stays a cultural thing, right? Why did it?
Because what's the culture of ska? Like hip hop has that's like an art movement of the Black American culture.
Sure.
Ska is whoever wants to play ska. There's not much more behind it, unfortunately. It used to be, a celebration of the Jamaican culture, but let's face it, it hasn't been that for decades.
Sure. So I get it. I'm just saying, like, I sort of wonder that too. Like,
and there's nothing more than just the music with ska in a lot of ways. With hip hop, there's a lot more going on.
Sure, that's true. All right.
It looks like Alan has something to add. I want to.
Oh, no.
Oh, he was mentioning that recently. Just last point is that he was saying, like, a lot of other music, it was literature, art, and music were together with it. Yeah. And ska like doesn't have anything but the music, like you guys were saying, which would be great if somehow there was another aspect to it. Like we've started like we bought stencils for our band. We've started graffitiing on shirts and on our bass drums and stuff like that. Just logos. We're like, let's try to bring this old stuff in, like, old New York City.
Yeah. and the one thing ska does have going for it, other than different genres, is that as long as, according to me, and RJ Phoenix only, if it's got a ska beat, it's a ska song. If it's intended to be a ska song. Like I don't really get too up in air. It's like, that's more of a punk song with some ska in it. It's like, no.
How do you guys feel about that? That's something I've been curious about. Like, so the ska beat is very distinct, right?
Yeah, ska beat's very distinct, and like I don't really care to. There's supposed to be some with like a climbing bass going on. I don't even get too much into that. If it's got the drum beat right and something's hitting the offbeat, like the guitar or keyboards or even horns, like. That's what you need. You don't need horns. Hey, you guys well know this. You don't need horns. You don't need a keyboard. You got something hitting that offbeat and the drums hitting on the 2 and the 4. And if you're intending to make a ska song when you're doing that, as opposed to just intending to make whatever and then that happens, that's a ska song. You're playing a ska song. That's
on purpose or on accident.
For me, it's as loose as that. And I know a lot of people don't agree with me, but this is also how I combat being like, that's a ska song versus that is a punk song with horns. Like there's a difference, and the difference is the beat. And if it's got a fucking rock and roll 4 on the floor kind of beat, Yeah, I'm not gonna in a million years just because it has like 5 horn players on it. I'm gonna say it's a ska song, even if Real Big Fish wrote it. I don't care. They wrote a great rock song with horns.
Like we know we're a mixed bag. Like, you know, like Clark Kent did not have the ska beat, but we have other tunes that have the ska beat. You know, like we mix it up. You know, not everything has a ska beat, but everything has, you know, the guitar is always doing the upbeat kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, we acknowledge that. Like, it's not ska per se, but it has elements. And then if you keep listening to us, other tunes are purely ska.
Well, before we get into ska picks of the week, I do want to ask you, what all do you have coming up in the near future for Not From Concentrate? Obviously, you talked very early about your release in February. What can you tell us about that release and what else you got going on?
Yes, like that's gonna be like our first DIY, like full,
it was an accident.
Yeah, well, yeah.
He was just messing around. We were gonna actually just record like a cover for fun. It was gonna be Fortunate Son.
Yeah.
And he goes, I did this thing. And he showed me. And I was like, oh, that's cool. And I dug out an old notebook from 2012. I was like, I think I have words for this that I wrote on a Greyhound bus. And it was just like about like, it's basically just about like, just missing home. Like you don't have to go 2,000 miles away, to discover yourself. Sometimes you could do it just here. So it worked. And it was like, wow, that was weird. How did we just make a song? Like it's never happened ever. I always come with a song, like I'm the primary songwriter. I'll come, here's the chords, here's the general gist, and we kind of build off that. This is the first time it's like Alan started it, and it's just like, let's see what happens.
Yeah, I flipped the script on you. Like Jamie went out to like hang out with some friends or something, and I was just like here messing around. And I had like Paul's like Scott tracks, and I'm like, and I just like sat and just like we have like a old like 70s Lowry organ, and I like on that, and like
this is gonna be our most traditional ska song.
Yeah, wow.
Like, it still doesn't have horns though. And I'm like,
fine. You don't need it.
I can't. But it's like we have organ, we have piano, we have the ska beat. It's like it's in major. I don't write in major. I'm like, what is this? So it's like wild, but we're excited, because it really is just something that's we're not. It's not a typical NFC, but I think you're gonna see another side of us, like see other things we can do, which is cool. We're excited for people to be able to see our versatility.
So it's like a 2-song EP kind of thing.
No, it's just the one.
We're considering throwing a second on there. It's a cover. We're not sure. So
yeah, maybe like we've never done a cover like outside of like just bar gigs for cash, but we might drop like one officially. I've been like digging through like all of our old files and stuff, and I'm thinking we might actually like drop an instrumental record this year, just to get a bunch of like shed some songs that haven't seen the light of day, give them some love, and
Well, that idea came from like a couple of gigs ago. My hand, so I have carpal tunnel, but it's not terrible. It's not. But this gig for some reason just locked, and I just was like, uh-oh. So I was like, sing or play, because my brain can't do both right now. So words weren't happening. We were just playing one of our songs, and people were just skanking and like in the pit and having a good time. I wasn't singing anything. And at the end, Alan's like, yo, maybe you don't always have to sing. We can like start like, almost like jam banding it. Like we like the Grateful Dead, we're kind of like the other thing we're weirdly into. Like I'm wearing it, like we have this silly ska shirt that somebody made for us.
That's awesome.
That's on one of our records, Die Tryin'. So it's like we have this weird conglomerate of stuff, and it's like, yo, why not jam band out sometimes? Ska bands. But yeah, we have like, a few singles here and there that we're going to pepper throughout the year, but we don't have a full EP that we're going to be dropping minus the instrumental.
Awesome.
Something to look forward to. Rad.
Awesome. Well, we thank you all for joining us, Jamie and Alan. We appreciate you joining us this week. It means a lot.
Yeah.
And listeners, if you want to hear more from Jamie and Alan, we're going to record a little bit of an extra bonus episode right now. So if you want to sign up for our Patreon, maybe we'll get more into waves of ska and what makes ska. And so sign up for our Patreon. It's $4 a month. You get at least 2 bonus episodes, 10% off merch, and all that fun stuff.
Support ska.
Yes, support ska. And all right. So listeners, of course, thank you for, I was a little early there. Thank you for listening to our show and supporting us any way you can. And as always, until next time,
keep listening to ska.
You've been listening to On the Upbeat. The On the Upbeat theme music is written and performed by Millington. Make sure you follow them on Instagram at Millington the Band. You can follow us on Instagram and Facebook at On the Upbeat Ska. Be sure to check out our Spotify playlist, Ska Favorites. It features all the songs heard on the show. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and rate and review us wherever you listen to podcasts. If you would like to support On the Upbeat financially, visit www.ko-fi.com/ontheupbeat. Thanks for listening and supporting On the Upbeat.